Hey everybody, it's Marlene with Rebel Retirement. Today I want to talk about feeling anxious about money and share some tips with you that I think can help us get over some of that anxiety. First, I want to share a personal story with you about a time when I felt very, very nervous to look at my bank account. I was staring at my checkbook every day for many hours on end. It was as though I could look at my checkbook, look at the numbers, and by magic somehow change those numbers. The money wasn't coming in and the bills weren't getting paid. And here's what finally helped me, and I'm hoping that it will help you as well. I decided to release my fears about money, to make peace with my situation, and to quit looking at my checkbook and my account every day. So I looked at it much less frequently, and because looking at it constantly wasn't helping, it was just feeding my fear. Okay. And the fear was really bad. I was very afraid of my future, of our future. And so this was following me all day long. It was really weighing heavily on me. It was a great burden. The fear was more of a burden than anything else. And I would go to bed at night worrying about the money. And the truth is that it was the fear that was making everything feel heavier than it already was. And making peace with the money, making peace with my situation didn't mean that I was giving up. It meant that I was calming my mind and giving myself enough room to breathe and think. And so once I quieted that fear, that's when the change took place. That's when something important happened. And I stopped reacting and I started responding. And that was a turning point. I also started feeling like myself again, that I could actually be present with my family, that things were going to work out as they always do. That being said, I think a lot of you could say, hey, Marlene, you've got a lot of nerve telling us to just make peace with money as though that is going to change our situation. And I know that so many of us are feeling the squeeze right now. We're feeling it as well. Groceries cost more, utilities cost more, insurance costs more, jobs are being lost. There's a lot of chaos in the world right now and a lot of uncertainty. But when we imagine those worst case scenarios and when we replay old mistakes and we worry about things that never happen, all of that is stealing our energy. So my experience taught me something that applies whether you are retired, still working, or somewhere in between. Money stress is not about the numbers. It's really about how safe we feel. And constantly checking our accounts doesn't make us feel safe. It just creates panic a lot of times. It's just a reminder of what we can't afford, of how the money isn't coming in, how the bills may not be getting paid. This is not something that's new. You've probably heard it before. But once we give ourselves the space to focus on what we can control instead of what we can't, we can make thoughtful decisions instead of just, reacting out of fear. Space changed how I showed up in my life. I could think more clearly. I could see options again. I could make better decisions. Instead of, having the why me, why is this happening to me? I could start asking, what is the next right step? And that was a much kinder question to ask myself. So if you are retired and struggling to make ends meet, this matters because fixed income plus fear is overwhelming. If you're still working hard, but worried about the future, this matters too, because fear borrowed from tomorrow makes today so much harder than it needs to be. I'm going to say this again. Peace does not change the numbers overnight, but it changes how we face them. And how we face them is how we determine what we're capable of doing next. Take care, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time.